Thanks for tuning in to the Pride, Prejudice, and Popcorn podcast, a companion to our book and film club by the same name that will be going on for the entire year of 2025 as we celebrate Jane Austen's 250th birthday during our year with Jane Austen. On this podcast, we'll be having some fun doing a broad overview of Jane Austen's work, but if you are interested in more, including our in-person book and film club, in-depth discussions and lectures, and family-friendly activities, please check out our website and calendar for those, as well as other great events and our library podcast, Books and Beyond. All this and more can be found at winterparklibrary.org. Welcome back to the Pride, Prejudice, and Popcorn podcast. My name is Emerald, one of the Winter Park Librarians. Today we are going to be talking about Emma, Jane Austen's fourth published novel. We will spoil the plot for anyone who hasn't read it. Joining me as usual is Delicia, youth team member, blog coordinator for the Jane Austen Summer Program, and administrator for the Jane Austen Literacy Foundation. We also welcome Brianna Haufman, our marketing and communications manager. Delicia has already answered this question, but Brianna, would you mind sharing with us your familiarity level with Jane Austen or the Regency era in literature and film? Do you have a first introduction to Jane Austen or Regency?
Sure. Okay, so when I found out we were going to do Year Jane Austen, I was really excited but a little nervous because I'm kind of new to reading these classics, so getting my brain trained to do that kind of thing is a little tough, but I am more familiar with watching like the movies, of course, the classic movie with Keira Knightley of Pride and Prejudice. I've love the Bridgerton show, so I'm very into Regency in that sense.
And you'll love a clip that I have later.
I can't wait.
And for all of us, what's the familiarity level with this book or this story in particular? For me, this was my first time reading it, but I'd seen Clueless.
So true. Yeah, Clueless came first, then I read it, and then I watched the Emma movie. So, yeah.
Delicia, I'm sure you've read this one multiple times.
Yes, although compared to Austen's other novels, I probably have read it the least, but I've seen nearly every adaptation. I actually, Clueless, I think I was like in middle school when it came out, and I didn't find out until years later, oh, it's a Jane Austen adaptation. So that was actually my introduction to Jane Austen, actually, was Clueless.
Oh, really? That's very fun.
I think that's true.
So we just had the anniversary where we did a screening of Clueless here at the library, and all of Jasna came, and it was great. Okay, so to get started, we're going to do our little challenge. Give your best one-sentence summary of Emma.
Emma herself or the novel?
The novel. Although, aren't they one and the same?
It is true. I would say challenging, and I mean that in a good way. It is, and it's the longest novel too.
It's very long.
Yes, it's long, but yeah, challenging. Emma as a character is challenging, but also the novel itself is very challenging with talking about society and like the rank in society, not really being able to move up in society and having to keep within your own level.
Which is interesting that it comes after Persuasion, because one of the things that we talked about in Persuasion was the Navy as a method of upward mobility in society. So ironic that we're following that with this. What about you, Brianna? Do you got one sentence other than Emma is a character, which I feel like just...
You said one word, so I was going to go with that.
We can do one word.
Okay. I was going to say tricky, because, yeah, I think Emma is a manipulator, and she thinks she's, like, in charge, like, the world revolves around her, and that she's the one who decides everyone's fate. And, we learn, I don't know if that's always true, but, yeah, I just feel like the situations people are in is kind of tricky.
I'd say delusional.
Yeah.
Okay, so Emma is the fourth novel published by Jane Austen. It was published anonymously in 1815. She was offered £450 for the novel, as well as the rights to Sense and Sensibility and Mansfield Park, but she felt this was too low, so she ended up paying the expense to print and advertise the book herself. It was dedicated to the Prince of Wales, who she did not actually care for, but he was a big fan of her books. The story follows Emma Woodhouse, left to her own devices for the first time when her governess marries, and Emma imagines that she holds the credit for arranging the match. She gets it into her head that she's going to make yet another match between Mr. Elton and her new friend Harriet, and makes assumptions about the characters and the relationships of others in the book, all the while claiming that she herself will not marry. Needless to say, Emma makes quite a few miscalculations. The characters in this book are Emma Woodhouse, Mr. Woodhouse, her father, who was always very concerned about his health and comfort, Mr. Knightley, Emma's brother-in-law through her sister's marriage, Harriet Smith, Emma's friend of unknown parentage, Mr. Elton, the Westons, who also include Emma's former governess, their stepson Frank Churchill, the Bateses, Jane Fairfax, and Robert Martin, who proposes to Harriet at the beginning of the book. What were some of your first impressions as you worked through the book, or any impressions afterwards? This is our open dialogue portion.
I would say that I felt it was really quick and witty just to start. Emma I think she's really funny. Even, like, we're making fun of her, like, while, like, you're reading it like, girl, you're a lot. But I was on board. I also loved the, like, father-daughter dynamic between her and her dad. I think they were so cute, so funny. I think Austen really does father-daughter, like, relationships really well. Like, I love the dad in Pride and Prejudice, too. Like, they really care about their daughter's fates and futures, which is not much to say, like, of most people of that time. So I found that fun.
I loved Mr. Woodhouse.
He's so silly.
Every time he said something about just wanting to stay comfortable, I was like, same. There was a few points that I was like, oh no, I am Mr. Woodhouse, which probably is not great.
I think my favorite Mr. Woodhouse moment was when everyone is like admiring the painting of Harriet, and he's like, oh, like it should have been like a shawl because like she's probably cold. Like
she's probably cold. It's so hot. It's so cold. He's so
like,
worried.
It's a painting.
Yeah, the opening line in Chapter 3, Mr. Woodhouse was fond of society in his own way. He liked very much to have his friends come and see him, and from various united causes, from his long residence at Hartfield and his good nature, from his fortune, his house, and his daughter, he could command the visits of his own little circle in a great measure as he liked. He had not much intercourse with any families beyond that circle. His horror of late hours and large dinner parties made him unfit for any acquaintance, but such as would visit him on his own terms.
Yeah. Period.
So I thought that he was a lot of fun. Delicia, do you have any sort of commentary or analysis on that father-daughter relationship between Emma and her grumpy dad? Or he's not grumpy.
He's real.
He's concerned with comfort.
Yeah.
Health and comfort.
It's a nice relationship. It's not a healthy one. Please don't come at me. She runs a household, which is very unusual for a daughter to be doing that, because you never know. I don't know if Mr. Woodhouse is actually sick, or he's just a hypochondriac, or maybe like a mix. Like he does have some ailments, but maybe exaggerate them a little bit. Don't know. But she is kind of in this situation where she is running a household, making decisions that really he should be making as the owner of the estate. And it's interesting how I don't know if that has an effect on Emma, where that does give her maybe too much control for someone who is also, there's a lot of indulgence with her dad, with Miss Taylor, who becomes Mrs. Weston. So it probably is not good for her, even though I love to read their relationship. It is a very cute relationship, but there is a bit of don't want to say damaged. That might be a little bit of an exaggeration, but it doesn't really do her any good, I think.
And it's not the first time that we've seen in one of Austen's books where there is a daughter who is carrying maybe more than she should for the family. We definitely saw that with Eleanor in Sense and Sensibility. I think we saw it a little bit in Persuasion, where everyone just kind of relied on her to communicate to other people for them or to make them feel better. And then we're seeing that again here, except the protagonist is not quite as responsible as they were. And isn't there a scene later on where they're talking about inviting people and Mr. Knightley is like, nope, until the only person that's going to invite people or arrange dinner parties or whatever in my house will be my wife. And until then, I'll take care of it. So you see, like, he has the ability to take on the responsibility of making decisions that we don't see with Mr. Woodhouse, who just has Emma handle everything. Handling the duties of a wife and running the household and everything.
I just loving that line where he said his wife. We kind of low-key know he's talking about
Yeah.
Emma.
Yeah. That was a move.
Because we do find out that he's been pining. And we love pining. It's great. Do you think that, let's just skip right to it. Do you think that Emma and George? He's George, right?
Yes.
George. Yes. Emma and George, do you think that they are well suited for each other?
It's one of those couples where one is better than the other, and entered in marriage. It's gonna be a little messy, but they'll work it out. But
It could go either way, right?
yeah, but
They've known each other so long.
Yeah, Emma's gonna still need a bit of work.
But only he
say.
could do that, you know?
That is true.
Like, he can get away with it.
Yeah, no one can work on Emma like
Yeah.
Mr. Knightley
Yeah.
can.
There's a level of grumpy sunshine happening.
Mm-hmm.
What about the other marriages?
Oh.
Please don't get me started on Frank Churchill and Jane Fairfax.
No, I'm gonna. Please
Stop.
continue.
Oh, I hate it.
Jane Fairfax is one of my favorite Austen characters. I just love her. I would die for her if she was real. She is such a girl boss.
Yeah.
And she's so sweet. She's so talented. She's beautiful. She's perfect. And she could have did so much better than Frank Churchill.
I completely agree.
And I'm trying to think, is this the only time in an Austen novel where a not so good guy actually gets the good girl at the end? Because you kind of see, like, with I don't want to spoil Pride and Prejudice just in case, because we haven't gone to that one. But Sense and Sensibility, Willoughby ends up with Miss Grey, who's like this cold woman who definitely is no Marianne Dashwood, and that's who he gets, despite her whatever many pounds she had.
Yeah.
But it was like 50,000 or 20,000,
Something like
Something like that.
A lot.
But Frank Churchill, he gets Jane Fairfax in the end. It's like, really?
I know. Speaking of Jane Fairfax, when Miss Bates comes and she's like, bumbly and talking, Miss Fairfax, just wait until she's here. And she's like talking her up. I'm like, yeah, lady. Okay. And then she really is. She can do all those things and she is the best girl. So, okay, Miss Bates.
I remember reading that, and I think the actual note that I made was like, Emma, you're like not being a girl's girl.
No,
like,
I know.
I love the part where everyone is so just impressed with Jane's musical ability, and then the very next day, Emma just practices music for hours. Okay, so all right, so that's a good lead into talking about Jane Fairfax and sort of Emma's opinions of the people in her life, because I think one of the things that we talk about when we talk about Emma is we're seeing all of this from Emma's point of view. So even if we, the reader, might be reading this and seeing, you know, the actions of Frank or the actions of Mr. Elton, we might have our own conclusions, but we're meant to trust Emma's perceptions of the situation. So would you call Emma an unreliable narrator, or how would you talk about the way that the reader is supposed to be sort of led by what her opinions are of everybody?
That's really interesting because I was just in a virtual book club, and this came up with how a lot of people read Emma and do not like Jane Fairfax, and don't like Mrs. Elton. And does that have a lot to do with, even if you don't like Emma, you're reading everything from her point of view? So does that affect how readers respond to Jane Fairfax and Mrs. Elton? And the consensus was, you know, Jane Fairfax people are definitely led by Emma's opinion. Mrs. Elton, no, we actually dislike Mrs. Elton, regardless of what Emma thinks of her.
Well, we see Mrs. Elton be
Yes, we have
terrible.
We've seen it.
I don't need anyone's opinion about I can see for myself how she is.
This really was a book that when I was reading it, there were things that I could connect to different works later. That scene, for example, where Mrs. Elton and Mr. Elton really just like snub Harriet, and then George comes in and dances with her. Very much like Colin Bridgerton swooping in to dance with Penelope.
Ooh, yeah. Wallflower.
Wallflower.
Girl. Yes.
Yeah, when Cressida is just like terrible to her.
Yeah.
It also made me think of, I don't know if either of you have ever watched or read Vanity Fair, but there's a big plot point where the main character in that book is a governess who is sort of trying to have some upward motion of herself in society. So when we talk about governess and sort of women with jobs, what do we see in Jane Austen? Because that becomes a topic of discussion where Jane Fairfax is being encouraged to become a governess.
So a governess was, you could call a governess like a live-in tutor,
Okay.
in a sense. And that was an option for middle-class women who were in financial straits, where it could maybe be something like they can't really depend on a male relative to take care of them. They can't get married. It was kind of a last resort.
Okay.
It's a very difficult position because you're not going to get married, which is why it's a last resort. That's is pretty much when you don't have any other options. You're not part of like the servants. You're not in domestic service, but you're not part of family. It's a very lonely experience. It doesn't pay well, or it didn't pay well, I should say, where you pretty much is really like your room and board. And what's interesting in Emma, you kind of see two different perspectives on a governess. You have Miss Taylor, who is a very rare case where she is accepted into the family, where she's loved like a family member. Her relationship with Emma is like this best friend sisterly relationship. You probably get the sense that she got paid well. She's actually missed when she leaves.
Emma's so sad when she's leaving in the beginning.
And Mr. Woodhouse with his poor Miss Taylor.
Poor Miss Taylor. Yes.
But that was not typical, and you get that sense if you don't really know about what it's like to be a governess. You get that through Jane Fairfax when she makes that comment. And let me see if I have it. Let's see if my notes are in order, because it wasn't for the last podcast.
It's fine. We follow the conversation where it goes.
Yes,
So true.
we try to.
Because she pushed back about becoming a governess.
Yes. So this is also Jane Austen's other reference to the slave trade
Okay.
as well. So I'm going to read directly. She says, when I am quite determined as to time, I am not at all afraid of being long unemployed. There are places in town, offices where inquiry will soon produce something. Offices for the sale, not quite of human flesh, but of human intellect. And, that's a very deep comment, and it kind of ruffles some feathers. So she has to make it clear she's talking about the governess trade and not the slave trade. And she goes on to say, widely different, certainly as to the guilt of those who carry it on, but as to the greater misery of the victims, I do not know where it lies. So there's this kind of comparison with the slave trade and with being a governess, where you're being sold. It's like a commodity. And of course, you don't want to make a direct correlation, but kind of seeing, I think we talked a little bit about this in Mansfield Park.
We did.
That relationship between the slave trade and women.
The marriage mart.
Yes, where you're pretty much being sold. So that comes again in Emma, where it's Jane Fairfax definitely does not want to become a governess. This is not something she wants to do, but it's a necessary evil for her because she has no other choice.
But we do see her sort of pushing it off because we know that she's waiting for a letter from Frank.
Yeah, waiting and waiting. Yeah.
Do you guys want to talk a little bit about why you feel like Frank does not deserve Jane Fairfax?
I think he's like playing her. Well, the whole time we see him flirting around with all these other girls. Like, nowhere in my mind was I thinking, oh, these two are together. Like, I forgot, you're like not keeping track of that because he's just a flirt. And I don't know.
Wants everyone to like him.
Yeah, I just didn't like his energy. And even at first I was like, okay, maybe this is a guy for Emma. And I was like, no, they can't even handle each other. But no, like as Delicia was saying, like she is so sweet, so genuine and humble. Like that is just
well, and that's the thing. He comes in and he, puts on this performance so that everyone will like him. And George Knightley calls him out at multiple points of saying that he's just being whatever he needs to be to make the people in the room like him. Meanwhile, we have Jane Fairfax, who just comes in and is exactly who she is and is not really trying to lead your opinion one way or the other.
The main problem I had with Frank Churchill was about the piano. With sort of insinuating that Mr. Dixon may have given Jane a piano, and just how dangerous that was of a rumor to spread that could have ruined Jane's reputation. I think that was when I was kind of done with Frank Churchill. I mean, this is Regency England, very big on reputations, and I don't know why you would do that to a woman that you're engaged to. So that was, and that's also, we'll get to that, one of the worst moments, I think, in novel where
There's
he just kind of want to throw the book.
There's some really big, moments of, I guess, harm, where somebody is really terrible to somebody else. So we have the ball scene where Harriet is just taking hit after hit, and then we see Frank, risking a rumor against Jane. And we see George and Emma fighting with each other, which, they care about each other, but they really call each other out on their behavior.
True.
And then also the picnic scene.
The comments that Emma makes about people she's literally at a picnic with. Horrible.
Delicia, do you want to describe that scene a little bit?
Sure. So there's someone Bates. She's so good-humored, and she makes this, self-deprecating joke. I do that all the time.
Yeah.
Emerald
is just a yapper.
I
Emerald knows
learned to love her. At first I was like, Emma's so annoyed with her, but I learned to love her.
We're being misled by Emma again.
Well, like Miss Bates, I'm not talkative, but I love the self-deprecation. So, she makes a joke about saying 3 dull things, and Emma responds, ma'am, but there may be a difficulty. I must say you would be limited to 3 at once.
It's so mean.
So it's an extremely unkind comment to make towards anyone, but as Mr. Knightley points out, there is also Miss Bates' station in life. And we talked a little bit, of course, about with Jane Fairfax and her financial situation, but Miss Bates is very poor. And Miss Bates she's an example of what happens when a father dies, when a husband dies, when you're left in kind of financial situation like that, which Jane Austen herself, when her father died,
Right.
as well. So, of course, Mr. Knightley scolds her because...
Deservedly so.
Yes. Because Emma is supposed to be kind of like a role model for everyone, if you kind of look at it that way. She's supposed to set an example, and if she does that to Miss Bates, it kind of opens the door for everyone to treat Miss Bates like that. And it also shows that when you are wealthy, when you have a certain rank in society, that you're supposed to carry yourself in a way that's responsible, and you have a responsibility to these people. So Mr. Knightley gives her a scold, and I almost was ashamed, like he was yelling at me. It kind of reminds you of when a teacher is scolding a student, and then you're kind of oh, let me write on my paper and keep my head down, and so but I would admit sometimes I feel sorry for Emma in that scene, because I think we all have been in situations where we've said something we shouldn't have said, and you feel really bad about it, and then someone tells you off.
Right.
You can't take it back.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So, and that's where it kind of comes into with the social standing. Is not just you having money, and not you just being kind of like the queen bee, I guess you can say, but also that you have a responsibility to act in a way that's kind of like this kind of leadership role, so to speak. Which is kind of funny that the novel is dedicated to the Prince Regent, because he was definitely not someone who lived a life.
She knew what she was doing.
So, yeah.
All right. So major themes in this book include the setting as a character, because we have the fictional town of Highbury, and it's just very much contained to that. In all of the other books, I think we kind of explore a little bit. We go to Bath. We go to, I forget what the coastal town was in Mansfield Park. But they move around a bit, whereas with Emma, we're just very much confined to this one town. And the weather that happens in this town and the distance to everybody's houses plays a big role in certain parts. We also see marriage and social standing, which we've talked about, the limitations of women's place in the world. A lot of the scenes with the men happen outside. A lot of the scenes with the women happen inside. Self-deception and romantic declarations. So what are some places in the book that you feel like you really see some of these themes exemplified, or do you think there's any other themes that I haven't mentioned that you could also say are present?
I was just going to say, I feel like the book is really gossipy. Maybe that's just my Bridgerton lens when I read this stuff, and specifically at the store, I feel like that little shop that Emma is always at, and she's getting the info from Miss Bates about Jane Fairfax, and then Harriet, of course, is still trying to get with the what's his name?
Martin?
Yes. And she's like, no, we got to talk about this guy who's coming into town. So
poor Harriet.
Yeah, I know. She just wants to do whatever Emma says.
Well, and so that's that's where I would say self-deception comes in, because Emma, the jump that she makes to decide that maybe possibly Harriet could have come from somebody noble, that she just like makes this decision without any evidence and decides that this poor girl is just going to be her project and she knows what's best for her, to the point where she like ruins this girl's proposal to somebody that she actually cared about.
Yeah.
That's like,
He was fine.
oh my goodness.
It's interesting with Emma Woodhouse. She doesn't actually move around. As you just mentioned, like as far as Highbury, that's where she is. It doesn't really give her a chance to meet other people and kind of expand her horizons. And she is kind of stuck in her brain in a sense. And that's maybe why she kind of comes up with all these schemes and just have these, this like wild imagination. We talked a little bit about how she runs the household, which in some ways she is more mature than like us other Austen heroines, but then at the same time she is very much closed in to this town, her home. I don't know if that means anything, but
I think it does.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I felt that was kind of babbling.
No, that's real.
And there's some really wild romantic declarations in this book, which is interesting because I think like the romance plotline doesn't take as much center stage. We see the train wreck of a declaration when Mr. Elton,
Oh, gosh.
you know, tries to like make a move on Emma in the carriage, which when I read that scene, I think I looked right over at you, Delicia, and I was like,
Yeah,
who
that
let
did
this man
happen,
alone in the
yeah.
carriage with
Yeah,
her?
that's insane.
Without a
that happened.
chaperone.
Isn't he Isn't he?
What? Like,
Hello. Oh.
and then he just jumps on her,
Yeah,
basically.
that was a lot.
There's the letter from Mr. Martin to Harriet, which is lovely and heartfelt, and Emma just
Shuts it down.
shuts it down terribly.
Someone else could have wrote it. Like the guys that letter it.
Yeah, I know. Whoa.
It's horrible. And then, of
Aw.
course, George Knightley makes his declaration that he's loved her his whole life, and that's very romantic and lovely.
Well, we can't. Okay, you can't talk about that without mentioning. Lisa will be mad if we don't talk about this. That in the 2019 adaptation of this, the declaration like causes Emma's nose to bleed.
Oh, yes. So I have not seen
Yeah.
this adaptation, and everyone keeps talking about the nosebleed.
It's so random. But also, it's like, yeah. What else? What is your reaction, girl, to this thing happening right
Pop
now?
a blood vessel,
Why not?
apparently.
It's insane. It's very interesting.
All right, so this is our Roses and Thorns segment where I ask everyone to share their rose, which would be their favorite or most rewarding part of the book, and their thorn, their least favorite, most annoying, most challenging part of the book. My rose is the scene towards the beginning when it starts snowing and nobody can decide whether or not to leave. And they're all just sitting in there talking about it. And then George actually goes outside, comes back, and is like, hey, people can leave. And Emma jumps up and just starts arranging carriages. And I thought that that was a cool scene where you see the two of them not talking and just actually working together.
Yes.
And there's just like, you can see how they're able to just sort of manage the situation together almost instinctively. Like they don't even really need to talk to each other and formulate a plan. They just work off of one another. Whereas everyone else was just sitting there. Do we? Don't we? Could we? How?
Yeah.
And so I thought that that was like a really nice sort of clip into what their relationship dynamic could be if they were aligned in the same way. My thorn is Emma convincing Harriet to turn down Mr. Martin. Her entire friendship with that poor girl drove me nuts.
Speaking of Mr. Knightley, I genuinely think he's one of my favorite male protagonists.
Oh, he's my favorite so far.
It's like so real, like you said. Like he's like, come on, people, like let's find a solution. He cares deeply about the people like that he loves. And he's willing to call people out on their faults.
Does he say anything incorrect in the entire book?
No.
Literally no, because I'm always out there for those guys. Like, what are they gonna mess up? No.
And like when he low-key told Mrs. Weston she was a bad governess.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's that sort of back and forth that they have where he's like, this is not a good friendship for her. People need to stop enabling her.
Yeah.
Calling her out. Emma's been trying to read more since she was 12 or whatever it was that he said.
They're funny. I'll go. My rose, I think, is still just the humor and wit that is in this, because we're following from Emma's perspective, and it's crazy, and the things that she's saying about these people, you're like, okay, girl, like, sure, that's fine.
Sure.
I'm just, I'm laughing with her.
A little Delulu, it's okay.
I also love a good character arc, and so when, like, because Knightley calls her out on like that horrible comment, and she goes and talks to Miss Bates and is like, please forgive me, I was being bad. I just think she is learning and growing, and I love that for a character. And then my thorn is, like, we were talking about the fate of poor Miss Fairfax. I hate him, and I feel so bad for her that's how she ended up. Yeah.
How about you, Delicia?
So my rose is probably a little ridiculous, but it's the portrait scene again, and it's just so ridiculous. So, like, they're looking at the painting, and so Mr. Weston acknowledges that the eyebrows and the eyelashes are wrong, and I don't even know if it's because Harriet doesn't have any,
Oh no,
or if it's like just not as present, but he turns around and he, like, blames it on Harriet's face instead of, like, Emma messing up the painting. He's like it's her fault. Like, she doesn't have them, like the eyebrows and the eyelashes.
Wait, this is your rose?
I found it funny. I thought it was hilarious. And then Mr. Elton is, like, just waxing poetry, like, about the painting. But then Mr. Knightley is like, you made her too tall, Emma.
Oh.
So yeah, that's what I just thought. The whole scene was hilarious, and
like
everyone was
characterization happening in that scene.
Yeah, everyone is, like, trying to make excuses to why the painting is not really that good.
Instead of saying you're untalented, like, because she's not as talented as she says she is.
But then Mr. Knightley, of course, he's the only one that's like,
he's the real one.
You made her
you
too
messed
tall,
up, Emma.
So that's my rules.
What's your thorn?
Oh goodness. There's quite a few. Definitely. I would agree with Emma convincing Harriet to turn down the marriage proposal. And just the way she talked about Robert in general was just extremely snobby. I did not like that, and of course the picnic scene is, like, really hard to get through. Especially, I don't know if you all have seen the Gwyneth Paltrow version of Emma, but Sophie Thompson, who plays Miss Bates, just did a phenomenal job in that scene where your heart just breaks. So it's a very difficult scene. And also, Jane Fairfax ended up with Frank Churchill is also a thorn.
Unjust. Emma was published in 1850. We discussed 1850 a little in our Persuasion episode, since Persuasion was published after her death, and she'd been writing Persuasion in 1815. So some of these sound a little familiar. But in 1815, Napoleon escapes from Elba and marches on Paris. The Battle of Waterloo occurs in June, and Napoleon surrenders in July. Emma is published anonymously. And then some fun facts. The first commercial cheese factory opens in Switzerland. And a not-so-fun fact, a volcano erupts in what is now Indonesia, leading to such extreme climate changes that the following year was known as the year without summer. Emma has 8 major adaptations, modern and period, for both TV and film. We have the most recent... is it 2020 or 2019? 2019.
There's a 2020 with Anya Taylor-Joy. I think that's her name.
Oh, I thought it was night. Either way. Yeah.
The most recent one is Emma with Anya Taylor-Joy. There's a web series called Emma Approved, which can be found on YouTube. There is a Hindi language rom-com called Aisha. 2 in 1996, one with Gwyneth Paltrow and one with Kate Beckinsale. 2 BBC versions, and of course the 1995 Clueless with Alicia Silverstone and Paul Rudd. Are you familiar with any of these? What are your favorites? What are the worst ones, in your opinion? Clueless is great.
I would know.
Clueless
Really.
is great. I would actually say, in my humble opinion, and I haven't seen a Kate Beckinsale version. I haven't seen Emma Approved, but I think Alicia Silverstone was the one that really understood Emma.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I feel like Emma could be portrayed a little bit too mean girl.
True.
I don't think Emma, she's not self-aware, and I think that kind of came across with Cher, where she just really don't know, like,
Yeah.
how, like, snobby, like, she is, and just how she doesn't actually know what she's talking about or know what she's doing, and I kind of get that more with Alicia Silverstone's portrayal than all the others, although there's been some good performances. I think Romola Garai, I think how you pronounce her name, I think she did a really good job, too.
Yeah, I don't think that Emma's not mean-spirited, or like you said, she's not a mean girl. She is just completely lacking in self-awareness.
Yeah.
Clueless, yeah.
Yeah, she's clueless, exactly. If this book was being adapted or written today, what are some things that you would like to see? Any alternate endings? I can guess what your alternate ending would be.
Yes.
What do you think that they would be dealing with? What still holds up? I mean, pining after a childhood love is, like, gonna be great in any romance rom-com.
And matchmaking, too.
Matchmaking.
That's true.
People still be doing that for each other.
And the alternate ending would be Jane Fairfax
Yes.
ending up with somebody
Someone
worthy of her.
good, someone rich and good, and yeah.
All right, so I have a couple media references. I was not able to find a clip explaining it, but in the TV series adaptation for Heartstopper, Isaac comes to a Halloween party dressed as a character from Emma. In Veronica Mars, in the episode High Infidelity, Veronica wants to invite someone along so that they won't be lonely, and her friend or partner Logan says, "How very Emma of you," to which Veronica responds, "Did you just make a Jane Austen reference? It's official. The end days are upon us." And there is also a musical episode of The Simpsons where Lisa really wants to know if Homer remembered to rent Emma from the video store. I do have 2 clips that I found completely by accident and was worried I wouldn't be able to find clips, but I've managed to find it for every other book. So the first one is from Bridgerton, season 3, episode 1, when Colin gets home and talks to Eloise.
Eloise, surely you are not eager to hasten to the Modis? I have something for you.
Ah, here it is.
It is a book, a rare Bavarian text on the right.
I'm in the middle of reading something. It is called Emma.
A novel? You've never been one for silly romances.
Perhaps my tastes have changed. The writings I read before of women making their way outside society, those were the romances. This book has humour and truth. The pains of friendship, it is altogether more probable.
So I'm ashamed to say I've never seen Bridgerton. Yes, I know. Sorry. So there was a whole fiasco amongst the Austen fandom when
About that scene?
that aired. Yes, because they got the year wrong. So at the time period, whatever year that is with Bridgerton,
1813? Is that what she said? I
1813.
feel like I'm imagining
No,
Julie
that is
Andrews.
what she says. That's why I imagine it.
Grosvenor Square, 1813.
so 1813, Emma was not published yet.
Wow.
Well, if hang on. If season 1 was 1813, season 2, 1814, season
Oh, you're
3,
right.
1815.
Okay, season 3 is Colin.
Colin and
So that's
Penelope.
3 years,
Yes.
like you just said.
Oh, and Colin and Penelope knew each other since they were kids, and George Knightley was pining for Emma since they were kids.
Are they trying to make
I just made
a
that connection.
comparison? See, I was like, oh, they're having Eloise read this because she's kind of Emma-ish.
Oh, she's very
Quirky
Emma-ish, and the way that she kind of
cares about everyone else.
Yeah, and I feel like the way that she treats Penelope is very much like, oh, this is she is guilty of sometimes being like, this is my unfortunate friend Penelope.
Yeah.
In my opinion, anyway.
Man.
But that's funny. Okay, so
that was just what I heard from the Austen grapevine, because I don't even know what year Bridgerton that whole season. Like I said, I never watched it.
I'm gonna look at it because I think
like this is wrong.
Wow.
Emma was not published yet.
I'm gonna look at it and see, because I think there has to be a point where somebody is looking at Whistledown and it will have the date on it in that season, and then we'll know. Because it might be fine.
But it was, that's crazy.
Yeah, my Bridgerton experts
I don't know.
who
am I to question the Austenites?
Austenites,
I'm new to
so
this.
true. So true.
I'm sure that they all know much better than me, although I know Bridgerton very well.
Yeah, it's the whole thing. I don't know. I don't look at Bridgerton.
That's funny. Lastly, I have a clip from Normal People, which is a Brianna looks
Oh no.
the series adaptation of Sally Rooney's book, which in my opinion is perfect.
I think the fact that she gives us a new chapter suddenly out of nowhere from the perspective of Knightley, having been with Emma throughout, felt really remarkable to me, and a moment of balance and care and something psychological which hadn't really been attempted before. And there's also a refusal of any kind of moralistic judgment granted to everybody, and I found that sort of extraordinary. So yeah.
Great. That's really great.
Are you crying?
No, I'm crying. I'm also just thinking about how he would play he'd be a great Austen adaptation lead. Hello?
He would be. Paul Mescal is how you
Mescal.
say his last name?
Yes.
I agree. I think
it
he
out
should be in
there.
a Austen something,
Yeah.
anything. All right. So, closing thoughts, final opinions, and then we of course will do our rating. Brianna, I know you've listened to it. We rate in teacups on a scale of 5 because it's Jane Austen and we love a good tea party. So, what are your closing opinions, and how many teacups would you give Emma?
I had a fun time reading Emma, like more fun than other Jane Austen books that I read. I could keep the pace, and it wasn't like I didn't have to go back. That's like important. Classic. I'm like, I can keep track of this story. And yeah, I think that because of her character arc, I respected that character a lot more. So you said out of 5 teacups?
Out of 5, yep.
I think that's 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
Delicia, how many teacups does this fall for you?
It's my girl Jane Fairfax didn't get a good ending. I'm going to go with 4.5.
Okay. I am the outlier here. I don't know if it's just because this is now the fourth? Yeah, we've done 4. 4th Jane Austen book I've read this year.
Okay.
And I'm starting to get a little tired, or I just couldn't stand Emma, although I like it after this conversation more.
Okay.
But before I came in here, my thought was that I would give it 3 teacups. With George Knightley, though, being my favorite hero so far.
Okay.
All right.
I actually think that's totally fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fair. It's
It's Fairfax.
Fairfax, yeah.
But all right. Well, thank you for joining us to talk about Emma. Thank you, Delicia and Brianna. The next book that we will be discussing is Northanger Abbey, I believe. So that should be a fun one, and just in time for spooky season. Thank you so much for listening.
Well, Mansfield Park is definitely the lowest.
Oh, no.
Yes, I agree.
Poor Mansfield Park.
Well, I had mentioned earlier that that's the only Jane Austen book I have not read, and I'm still trying to get through it a couple months after I started it. So
It was very difficult to get through, but it's strange. It was hard to get through, but at the same time, there was something really rewarding about the discussion afterwards. But I think my rating from best to least best, because I don't want to say it's bad.
Third best.
Third
Third
best.
best.
There you go.
Thank you, Rachel. I know how to talk. Would be Persuasion, Sense and Sensibility, and then Mansfield Park.
Yeah, I would
Agree.
agree.
Agreed. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us to talk about Persuasion. Thank you, Delicia, Lisa, and Rachel. The next book that we will discuss for the year with Jane Austen will be Emma. And it'll be my first time reading it, so I'm very excited about that.